Hello, my YouTube friends. I hope you're all doing well. Crazy day in the markets. After the close, it looks like Microsoft and Google must have had some pretty good earnings. I haven't had a chance to read into them yet, but I've seen the price action. And during the day, Meta got clobbered, and we'll talk about that a bit today, so stick around. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Adam Kahn, and this is Investing with Adam K. So, quite a day in the market today. Pretty crazy action. GDP came in low, so you would think that would have pushed the stock market higher and bond yields lower, but the opposite actually happened. And the reason for that is if you delved into the GDP numbers based on information I actually found here on YouTube, the reality is you saw inflationary numbers get worse, but you saw the things that are showing the economy slow down. So you're seeing inflation still be a little bit sticky in those numbers, and that's what really caused the market to crash or come down the way it did. At one point, the Dow was down over 600 points, closed around down 400, a little bit less. So it did claw back a bit at the end, but we're really anxiously waiting tomorrow's PCE numbers. Now, after the close, both Microsoft and Google were up significantly, as well as actually Snapchat. Now, keep in mind, last time Snapchat did that, it shot up after the earnings, but by the next day, it was down and collapsing lower. So I guess it'll be remain to be seen how they actually follow through going into tomorrow. Microsoft was up maybe 3, 4, 5% at the most from when I was looking. I kind of lost Wi-Fi and it doesn't seem to be coming in right now. Don't know why. It usually does just fine. Um, and I had the honor today of being interviewed by Ari Gutman. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his channel, but if you haven't watched it, take a look. I really enjoy his content. I think he's great. And he started doing these weekly interviews, and I was super flattered that he chose me to be on one of them. I'm not sure exactly when it'll air because what he does, he interviews a few, and then he tries to set them up depending on if things still make sense with the timeline. So it might take a few weeks before it goes out. But either way, I was super flattered. I really enjoy his channel. If you guys are watching me and trust the information, I would check out his as well. He also goes into dividend stocks a lot of the time. I ended up not talking about the dividend ones as much as probably should have, since I know that a lot of his viewers like that. But we ended up talking about just my life and things like that. Um, so, what happened with Meta today? Because as somebody who owns the stock, I was disappointed to see the price earnings, especially because I was really happy with the earnings. I mean, really, to be fair, Meta crushed it. The new price point pushes the forward PE down to like 20, which I think is a really fair valuation for them, considering the rate that they're growing at. But what the street didn't like is when he discussed his spend going forward on the metaverse and AI. Now, what concerns me as an investor is last time he talked about spending as much as he's talking about again on the future of the metaverse, the stock price, well, it had already naturally fallen from 350 range to like high twos, low mid twos at that point. But once he talked about how much he was going to spend on the metaverse, stock collapsed to $80 a share. Now, he's talked about turning it around to the year of efficiency. He let people go. He started focusing on profits and earnings, and the stock, as you guys know, shot right back up and then some. Now he's talking about spending on the metaverse again, and the street hates it. My concern as an investor is maybe there's follow through to the downside and you see the stock going lower because last time they hated it so much they really crushed the market. Thing is uh, he's not going to put them out of business, and I'll bet on Mark Zuckerberg. I think he's a great CEO. He's done a really good job so far, and he has a vision in mind, and I can see that vision as well. And I also think what he's seeing is, despite that they control, I think, 3.2 billion people on Facebook and Instagram on a consistent basis daily, I think it's got limited growth going forward. And this guy has grown a company in a huge growth industry. I think what he sees, and I could be wrong on this, obviously I'm not in the boardroom with him, but I think he sees Facebook shrinking. And the reason I think that is I don't use Facebook very much, but I did for a little while, but not a ton. I'm guessing there's an age range between, I don't know, 22, 23, maybe a little bit older, up until about maybe my age, who use Facebook really religiously here in the US. The younger kids, they don't really use Facebook a whole lot. How do I know that? I ask. I have a young kid. I ask him if him or any of his friends are using Facebook, and they don't. They do use Instagram, but I think the issue with social media is give it 20 years, it's no longer the in thing, and the next generation goes on to use a different platform. So maybe Mark Zuckerberg sees that. He sees Facebook as a little bit limited in its future growth. He sees that Instagram could end up doing the same thing. Now, WhatsApp has a little bit more of a potential in terms of being able to use like WeChat a bit in China. Now, I don't know that that'll be what happens, but I'm guessing that's his hope, is that it gets used for automatic pay and things like that are really convenient. I mean, if some of you have traveled, it's amazing how convenient you can leave the house. We went last year to Asia, and in Singapore, you can leave the house with just your phone. I mean, all the public transportation and everything, you just kind of take the phone and go like this over a little thing, and it knows the information. It charges your credit card if that's on there. It charges whatever. And I think that there's a potential that WhatsApp wants to be that for certain countries. Maybe, maybe not. I think the metaverse, though, what he envisions, and call me crazy because my brain's a little out there, I know that, is a future where kids might go to school on the equivalent of an Oculus. They can wake up, they can put on the Oculus when class starts, and they can get the best teacher in the world. And the best teacher in the world has the potential to be teaching thousands of students all at the same time. You don't have to worry about any school shootings. You don't have to worry about bullying. You don't have to worry about a lot of things if you're able to do that. Pretty amazing thoughts. I also envision where maybe you could get best seats at a football game and go to the Super Bowl for a really reasonable price. And same thing, you're not driving and fighting traffic, paying for parking. You don't have to worry about a tight seat. You can sit wherever you like. And you just put on an Oculus, and there you are at the game. And maybe the tickets are really reasonable because they can sell a million tickets versus the 10 or 20 at the 50-yard line that are the great seats. You're there for the halftime show, everything else. Sure, maybe you can't order a beer, but maybe a pop-up comes up where you can order a pizza to be delivered or whatever it is to drive other revenue. I think there's a whole plethora of things that the Oculus system and that can be used towards. The funny thing is that the last earnings report, they were rewarded because they were using AI appropriately to actually drive revenue and increase profits. This time, when he's talking about spending it, there's a fear that he's just spending irrationally. I don't think it's irrational. I think it's a race to grow and beat the other guys to the punch. I'm going to hit pause because of the helicopter. Now, like always, I try to be really sensitive to say this is not financial advice, things like that. Make your own financial decisions and don't follow me. Especially because, I'm sensitive to the risks of trading, and really, I don't know that this is it. I think there could be potential for follow through to the downside because, like I said last time, the street hated when he started spending on the metaverse, and essentially that's what he's doing again, despite saying it's the year of efficiency. And maybe they'll continue to hate that he's doing it. I just figure the guy's earned my respect in terms of having a vision for Facebook originally, and then Instagram, and all sorts of things that he's done quite well with, that I'm not going to question whether he does it or not. I think he's a risk taker. I think he wants to see the company grow. I'm guessing he wants to be the biggest and baddest one out there. And I kind of want to place a bet on that guy. Like, that's where I want to be invested. I'm really upset to see the market drop as far as it did. It hurts. But I had somebody reach out and ask me my thoughts about buying or selling before earnings. And I don't look to trade. I do. I don't want to say it the wrong way. As I've discussed before, three different accounts. The one in the safe deposit box, in my mind, despite not being happy that the stock went lower, it doesn't bother me. I don't worry whether it went up or down. I worry where it's going to be in 5, 10, 20 years. I think I made a good bet on a company I really like. And the person asked, should they be buying Microsoft before earnings? Now, if they did, at least based on where I saw it a little while ago, great. It had a little bit of a pop after the close. But I love Microsoft. I'm not going to buy it in advance of earnings based on what I think earnings are going to do. It's something I want in my portfolio that I want to be invested in. I'm not going to make the guess as to whether this earnings are good or bad, if the stock's up 10 or 20% or down 10 or 20%. It's exciting to watch. I do it with a few shares because I can't get the gambler out of me. But if the question is, should I be investing in it? The answer is yes, but not because of earnings. And if the stock goes lower, I still think it's a great company. And if the stock goes higher, I still think it's a great company. The general philosophy and what I hope to get across to somebody, because really the reason I do this is I hope that I get through to somebody who realizes the value in saving. That one day your future self, if you're young, is going to be really appreciative that you didn't buy that thing that you wanted and you put it into an investment. Whether that's Microsoft, Meta, Google, or whatever. The other thing I would encourage is know your market. I joked on the interview today. I wish I knew more about iPhones because I think the original iPhone is probably a good investment. Again, this is not financial advice. But what I know is I don't know enough about that market. I'm not going to look to buy one, even though I think it's a great investment, because since I don't know enough about it, I'll get taken advantage of. I'll buy the wrong one, the wrong with the wrong memory, or the wrong this or that, or not perfectly packaged properly, and I'll end up overpaying by accident, no matter what the research is, because it's not my specialty and it's not what I know. And then to be able to actually turn it into an investment that works out, I'll need the market to go a lot further than it naturally should. So I try to stay away from the things I don't know about, even if I have an opinion and think it's a good thing to do. And that's a good example. You know, I think with stocks, I have a decent feel for it. The other thing I talked about is what I've tried to do is consolidate and really push for the best of the best. As a kid, I liked investing in baseball cards, and it's morphed into football and basketball and hockey cards. Well, I did the same thing, and I really try to hone in on Michael Jordan cards. Now, again, if you don't know that market, I wouldn't follow the direction for the same reason. There's a lot of different Michael Jordan cards out there. There's a few different rookie cards. If you're not familiar with the market and you don't know which one to have and what the difference is in the grading and the companies and whether it is graded or not graded, so on and so forth, unfortunately, despite possibly being right and Michael Jordan being a great investment, you might overpay for the right guy and the wrong card. You really have to know the things that you trade. Well, like investing in Michael Jordan and trying to hone in because I think it's like right in front of my face, it's a no-brainer. That's what I'm trying to do with the stocks. There's a handful of stocks where I put a good percentage of my investments. Not that you should do the same because I still spread out and I do have dividend stocks in a completely different account. But my attitude is, Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, uh, probably Tesla, Starbucks, maybe McDonald's if you're in the food space, ExxonMobil if you're for that area, and Chevron as well. These really are the top companies. There are a lot of others out there, And that's what I want to focus on and have my money. I mentioned like a lot of people talk about Palantir, and maybe it is the next greatest thing. So I'm not discounting that. Kind of like the iPhone, I don't know enough about it. And if I miss that train, it's okay. I'm fine being in the things that are already established, that are growing at a slower pace, but still fast enough that I hope to outperform the markets. I hope I get that through to you guys. Stick with what you know, stick with the best of the best, and don't be scared, and make sure to save and put away for the future. Now, I forgot to say it earlier. Make sure to thumbs up, subscribe, make some comments. Let me know what you think. Keep an eye on PCE tomorrow. Hopefully, it doesn't collapse the market even further. It could have a really dramatic move. They've pushed out the estimates of when the Fed may cut to December at this point based on today's data. Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting. GDP coming in low, but I guess you really had to delve into the numbers to understand why, which is the inflationary numbers came in high, even though the GDP was low, indicating we're having inflation, but we're slowing down at the same time, which in theory makes sense to me that the inflation would slow down the economy. I assume, like me, as things have gotten more expensive, you do less and your money doesn't go quite as far. Anyway, I'll ramble all day. I already talked an hour earlier. If I talk 2 hours, I know you guys are going to be lucky to make it through the end anyway. If you made it to the end, say something. Let me know. I'll be really flattered. Anyway, once again, thumbs up, like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. Today is Thursday, April 25th, just so that people are aware of the time and day and everything else. Bye-bye.